So Samsung Galaxy phones and wearables and TVs and laptops, appliances and even smart refrigerators, there's so many Samsung devices out there. And although we hear a lot about the Apple ecosystem, Samsung's is by far the largest. But with so many products, what do you actually gain by being in the Samsung ecosystem? And more importantly, what do you miss out on by buying outside of the ecosystem? If you have a Samsung phone, should you buy a Samsung laptop or Samsung earbuds? Ultimately, is it worth buying into the Samsung ecosystem? This is a question that I've been thinking about a lot lately, and I wanted to dive deeper into the entire Samsung ecosystem to answer this question. Now, I've been using Samsung products for years, but to answer this question, we need to start at the core of the ecosystem. My core looks like this. I have a lot of Samsung products, but the ones that I consider my everyday Samsung ecosystem include the Samsung Galaxy S24 Ultra, arguably the best Android phone of 2024. So for this ecosystem, I'm putting this in the absolute center. Then we have the Samsung Galaxy Buds. There's a lot of choices and I've made comparisons, but again, for me personally, the Galaxy Buds 3 Pro are going to be my choice that I'll include in this video. Then for watches, this is a tricky one. I really do like the Galaxy Watch FE and the other Galaxy watches as well, but I am going with the Samsung Galaxy Watch Ultra for its longer battery life, its other cool added features in here, and I think it's a really good demonstration of what you can do with the Samsung ecosystem. For tablets, of course, I have the brand new Samsung Galaxy Tab S10 Ultra. For laptops, this is actually one that there's so many different options. I'm going with the Samsung Galaxy Book 4 Ultra, but again, especially when it comes to the ecosystem here, most Samsung laptops have most of the things enabled that I'll be talking about in this video. And then of course, how could we forget the Samsung Galaxy Ring as a health tracker. Now I have other devices in my Samsung ecosystem as well, refrigerator, stove, microwave, tags, different things like that. I'll mention those throughout the video, but these devices are the core. And although the hardware on all of these is really quite impressive, the way they work together is ultimately the whole point of this video. So I want to start off by talking about device-specific features. What do you get with the Galaxy Watch when you're in the ecosystem versus what do you get with the Galaxy Watch when you pair with a Pixel phone, for example, or any other phone out there? And I want to go through all the devices and kind of figure out which devices are worth it to buy in the ecosystem and which devices, for example, maybe earbuds, is it worth to buy out of the ecosystem. Starting off with the Galaxy Ring. If you want to track your sleep, if you want to track your health, but you don't want to have a watch that you charge every single day, or maybe you want to charge your watch while you sleep and still track your sleep, a Ring is going to be a great option. And within the Samsung ecosystem, if you're getting the Galaxy Ring, you have features like the ability to double pinch to pause alarms, control incoming calls, take photos, different things like that. But other than that, pretty much anything you're doing with the Galaxy Ring, you could also do with any other smart ring out there paired with a Samsung device. So is it worth it to get a Samsung Galaxy Ring if you're already, quote, in the Samsung ecosystem? I would say, although it's a great ring, it doesn't really confine you to being in the ecosystem. So the answer to this one is no. Choose any ring you want if you're a Samsung user. Next up, we've got the watches. And although you can pair the Galaxy watches with Pixel phones and OnePlus phones and any other Android phones, you cannot pair them with iPhones, of course. That's kind of true with most stuff in this video. But what is exclusive to Samsung phones? Well, we do have a number of things. For one, the ECG. You don't get access to one of the most powerful features on your watch if you're paired with a non-Samsung phone. So ECG is a big one. Sleep apnea detection is a relatively new one on here. Irregular heartbeat notifications, a lot of the newer AI features, I think Energy Score maybe is still being gatekept. I'm not sure if it still is, but Energy Score, at least at launch, was something that was limited only to Samsung watches that are paired with Samsung phones. The double pinch gestures, suggest replies, and the synchronization between your phone and your watch in regards to a lot of the settings, whether they are different modes, like do not disturb mode or different things like that, sleep mode, a lot of things are synced between your watch and your phone. So in this aspect, is it worth it to get a Galaxy Watch if you have a Galaxy phone? And this one, I would say absolutely yes. I think unless you're really training a lot for races, in which case a Garmin watch would be a great choice for you, anybody else who has a Samsung phone, the Galaxy watches are really kind of a no-brainer. You can get some of those features with a Pixel watch, for example, or some of the other watches, but the deep integration between the watch and the phone is something Samsung has clearly spent a lot of time on. Next up, we've got the earbuds. When you're in the Samsung ecosystem, the Galaxy Buds honestly do quite a bit. We've got some new features on the Galaxy Buds 3 and the 3 Pro, like Live Translate, for example, that are going to work very, very well when you have a Samsung phone with you. Otherwise, you have other cool things like the Samsung High Resolution Codec, SSC is what they call it, Samsung Scalable Codec actually, which gives you higher resolution audio. So if you're pairing these earbuds with any non-Samsung device, you're technically getting lower resolution audio. But that doesn't mean you have to get these earbuds with this phone, because you see, this phone supports many other high resolution codecs like LDAC and aptX that you can get on a lot of other earbuds from like Sony and Sennheiser and Nothing and a lot of other companies out there. But of course, a big benefit is you do get seamless switching. So if you have a Samsung phone, laptop, and tablet, this will automatically switch between all of them, and actually your watch as well, so that if you're going for a run and you have Spotify playing on your watch, you can just automatically connect these earbuds really quite easily. But does that mean it's worth getting these earbuds if you're in the Samsung ecosystem? For the earbuds, I would actually say no, but they're actually really great earbuds, so I recommend them anyway. I think they're kind of one of the best choices for Android users. However, don't feel constrained to get the Galaxy Buds if you have a Galaxy phone. Nothing Ear A, for example, are about 40% the price of these. They arguably sound better. They don't have better ANC, but they do have a lot of the other things, like a high-resolution codec that still works with Samsung phones. The seamless switching, they don't have it exactly in the same way as the Galaxy Buds do, but it's arguably better. It actually pairs with any two devices at the same time and switches between them. It could even be a MacBook and a Samsung phone. So I don't think that you're really constrained to these earbuds, but they're definitely great earbuds. So I would say, yeah, just throw them in anyway. I would get them in the ecosystem. And then we have the laptop. The laptop has by far the most ecosystem features that there are in the whole ecosystem. Like it really, even though the core I would say is the phone, the laptop has so many in here. So I'm not gonna name all of them, but some of my favorites, multi-control, which means that on your laptop, you can just drag the mouse over and control your phone, control your tablet, click and drag files between them, and it's a really easy way to share different things. Again, very similar to Apple's universal control that they have on their iPad, their Macs, and their iPhones. That's something that if you're a Windows user is incredibly valuable, and you don't really get that with anything outside of the Samsung ecosystem. Also, you can use your tablet as a second display. So if you want to not just have your tablet and drag the mouse over, but rather have it as an extension of your laptop as a second display, either mirrored or just another display there, you can easily do that. You've got other things like Expert RAW Auto Share. So if you're taking the Expert RAW photos on your phone, again, with your laptop, that's really convenient. So ultimately, is it worth it to get the Samsung laptops if you have a Samsung phone? Well, a laptop's a really big purchase, but this is definitely the most persuasive situation in my opinion. All else being equal, if the processors are the same, if you're really confident the hardware is going to be the same between this and like, I don't know, like a Acer, Asus, HP, whatever other laptops, then yeah, like the features are really compelling. These are pretty amazing and could convince me to buy a Samsung laptop, even if it was slightly lower quality. Now, personally, I'm not the biggest user of Samsung laptops, but the ecosystem it offers is really unparalleled among Windows devices out there. So I'm not saying definitely yes, get a Samsung laptop, but it's very compelling, and I think it should definitely add some points in your consideration when you're looking at which laptop to buy if you already have a Samsung phone. And then, of course, we have the tablet. There's so many different tablets that Samsung makes, and honestly, all of them I would say are the best Android tablets out there. There's really not many that come close. OnePlus has some decent ones. The Pixel tablet is kind of in a totally different category. So if you want to use a tablet as either like a semi-laptop replacement or just a great media device, like yeah, Samsung laptops is kind of a no-brainer. But within the ecosystem, what do they actually do? Well, of course, you can expect things like synchronized apps, the laptop perks I talked about with like continuity. Of course, you have the S Pen on here. So is it worth it in the Samsung ecosystem? I would say absolutely yes, mainly because there are really no good alternatives, but also because a lot of the features that it does offer just kind of tie the ecosystem together very, very nicely. If you have a Samsung laptop, it's a no-brainer to get a Samsung tablet just because you get those really nice features of, dragging your mouse directly over to your tablet. So that's kind of the perspective of the hardware, but it definitely doesn't end there. There are a lot of really cool features on the software side that are continuous across the entire ecosystem. And this is really where, if you've watched the video so far and said, all right, those are cool features, but I don't know if it's really worth it to invest into the ecosystem, these features here are going to be the ones that could persuade you either in or out of the ecosystem. So one is going to be the app continuity. This is essentially if you're using Samsung Internet on your laptop or your phone or your tablet and you close one of them and switch devices, the tabs are going to be there. You can do things similar to this with like Brave and Chrome, but it just works so much better with Samsung devices. If you're getting messages and you open a link on your phone that was texted to you, you'll see it on all of them. And you can do the same thing with other accounts as well, like messages. You can access and send messages from your laptop or your tablet on your phone. Now, other Android devices can use Google Messages, and you can access those from these devices as well, but Samsung just does it a little bit better, a little bit more integrated. We also have Samsung Pass, so if you don't use like LastPass or 1Password or Google Passwords, Samsung Pass is its own thing that manages your passwords across all your Samsung devices. And it does it honestly quite well. It's very convenient. It's protected with biometrics, so you sign in with your fingerprint. I've always been a big fan of that. I think it works very well. It really is kind of nice that it's deeply integrated into your ecosystem. We also have Samsung Pay, which depending on which device you're using, for example, the older like Samsung Gear style watches actually had something called MST Pay, which you don't see on any other devices at all, actually. And that was the ability to pay even on not contactless payment surfaces. So if you just have a place that you just swipe, you would hold your watch up to it, it would send a magnetic signal out to trick the device into thinking a credit card was swiped, and then you'd be able to pay even on tap and pay devices. A lot of the newer devices don't have that, maybe for security reasons, but it was cool that that did exist. Otherwise, Samsung Pay, again, great that you have it across the ecosystem. You can pay on your watch, you can pay on your phone, or you could have tickets, you could have I don't know, like your Wawa rewards card, different things like that. But one of the biggest ones right here, this is going to be a huge one, and that is going to be synchronized modes and routines. Essentially, do not disturb mode, sleep mode, work mode, whatever. If you put your watch into like do not disturb mode or sleep mode, then your tablet, your phone, other devices are going to have similar settings applied as long as you have that enabled in your ecosystem. And also, we can't forget about SmartThings routines, not just for appliances, but also for any devices out here. You can really have some very advanced routines set up with different triggers and different timings, and that is going to be something that I know Samsung has like a really strong user base, and the fan base of Samsung typically does a lot of tinkering with things like routines and those automations you could set up on your phone or really on a lot of other devices as well. And that's something that you don't really see in any other ecosystems out there for Android users. I mentioned Samsung Health. Of course, the watch is unlocking ECG on there by being an ecosystem, but otherwise you've got calorie tracking, and having that on your laptop, your tablet, your phone, and your watch just makes it easier to record your food throughout the day and make sure that you're sticking to your calorie limit or reaching your calorie goals however you have that set. And then of course, we cannot forget the locating features. This is one that every ecosystem has something similar to this, but Samsung's is kind of their like most walled garden, which I find very surprising. Like Samsung tags do not work with not Samsung phones. Like if you have a Pixel phone, you try to set up a Samsung tag, it's gonna tell you you have to use a Samsung phone, which I find very interesting. However, using the tags is really quite convenient. You've got ultra-wideband locating features, so on the flagship phones, the S24, all the way back to, I think like the S21, you're able to go around and navigate and find the tag with very precise locating features, and that's something that's very convenient. But you can also locate many other devices, whether that is your Galaxy Buds, your watch, other things. You can see where they are on a map, you can ring them, you can find them, like the Galaxy Buds, for example. You can make the little stems or blade lights flash if you drop them in a dark space, for example. And the SmartThings app is really the core of the ecosystem, and you can do other things. Like you can be alerted if your fridge door is open. You can be alerted when your laundry's done. You can control your television. You can find out, if anything moved in front of your cameras, if they're set up on your Samsung SmartThings app. There's a lot of automations and things you could do here, but again, is it actually worth it to invest into the Samsung ecosystem here? You can get the Samsung SmartThings app on most other Android phones out there, but it's definitely more integrated into the Samsung ecosystem with the locating features, like I said, for example, with the Galaxy Buds. So the software is very interesting, but taking one more step back on this ecosystem, the final big picture right here, there are other really cool benefits to being in the Samsung ecosystem. For example, you've got the Samsung Music Frame. Even though there is no smart speaker necessarily for Samsung, there's kind of like Bixby things that, I don't know, there's no like obvious like Apple HomePod or Google Nest, but the Samsung Music Frame kind of is a really cool alternative that when you go into the SmartThings app, especially on like a tablet where you can see it really well, or on a phone, you can see you have a lot of really cool settings just baked into the app that make it so easy to integrate with that entire Samsung ecosystem. And sure, you could use this with non-Samsung devices, just as a Samsung TV could be used with non-Samsung phones with the SmartThings app, but it just works better because it's more integrated into those Samsung devices. But the ecosystem is far from perfect. There are some missing things. As I mentioned, a better smart speaker, like the picture frame's awesome, but just like a regular little like Amazon Echo style thing would be kind of nice from Samsung. I think that's something that's definitely missing. I think a better voice assistant, like sure, Bixby's come a long way, but it's nowhere near the ability of Google Assistant, in my opinion. And the third thing that's really missing are over-ear headphones. I don't know why Samsung doesn't have over-ear headphones in their lineup. It seems like such an obvious thing to add. But in conclusion, if you get the phone, the watch and the earbuds, I think are really good, like they're really worth considering. But if you want a smart ring, you don't necessarily have to get the Galaxy Ring. Check out other rings, and that part of the ecosystem I think is still kind of developing, and maybe they'll add some features in the future, but at least for right now, I don't know, maybe like the Aura Ring could be a better choice for you. If you get the phone though, you don't need to get the laptop, but it's definitely really nice to get the laptop, the phone, and the tablet. And then when it comes to the laptop, if you get the phone, you don't have to get a Samsung laptop, but if you're going to, you get so many added features there. Samsung's really trying to add more, so they're not limiting you to only using Samsung laptops with Samsung phones. Like, you can use any Windows laptop and get a lot of really cool sharing features, but Samsung just gives you so many more with a Samsung phone. And if you get the laptop, like the tablet, I think is kind of a no-brainer. They tie together really well there. But the other things in the ecosystem, the appliances, I wouldn't be fooled into thinking that you have to be in the Samsung ecosystem to use those devices. They kind of don't even need to be that smart. Like, I don't care if my washing machine is connected perfectly to my phone. It'll work well enough on a Pixel phone. But answering the question of should you invest into the Samsung ecosystem, I think it depends on which devices you already have and which ones you're looking to get. But ultimately, there are a lot of really big value propositions here by investing into the Samsung ecosystem. And for Android users, sure, Google's kind of developing an ecosystem. Sure, OnePlus kind of has an ecosystem, but none of them are anywhere near as in-depth as the Samsung ecosystem. So let me know in the comments down below if you would like a review of any other ecosystems out there, if I should try like the OnePlus or the Google ecosystem. But that's my take on the Samsung ecosystem. Is it better than the Apple ecosystem? I have a video on that coming very soon. Get subscribed so you don't miss that. Thanks for watching, guys. I'm Michael Bryan, and I'll see you in those next videos.